Hello and welcome to Taking You to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I'm your host, JP John Paz from Two Man Power Trip. And of course, joining me, the star of the show, the former WWE World Tag Team Champion, 8-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Champion, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how are you doing today, sir?
John, I'm doing great today. Thank you very much for asking. I'm
Oh,
trying to change things up. Hey, hi,
nice.
Chad, by the way.
Chad,
Be
nice.
the
Love it.
first one to say hi.
And look at this, because we will be talking about the Iron Sheik, Eli Vincent. It's about time you talk about the true legend.
Very
Wow.
good.
Do you
Yeah,
agree with that?
I do agree with that. I certainly do agree with that. The true legend. Um, and we are talking about the Iron Sheik, is this right? Is that who
Yeah.
he's
Oh, yeah,
referring to?
yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, we are.
Now, just going to fire it off right at the gate. When the heck did you meet Sheiky Baby, and did he really train you in the business?
Great question. Good answer coming. So, in, I believe, what would it be, 1975, 76? The Iron Sheik was in Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, one of the towns on that loop. And he was wrestling as Muhammad Farouk. It had to be 75, maybe, because the WFIA, do you remember the WFIA?
No. Mm-mm.
Wrestling Fans International Association with Don Wilson, and
Wow.
through the magazines and stuff like that. They had these conventions in the territories, and they had one in Dallas. And I was 15 or 16, and I believe I was working this summertime. I was working in the Houston office, and Dallas was the booking office, but they had the WFIA convention. I went to Dallas, and
Yep, there's Sheik right now. He's confirming.
yes, she could be, no, not now. Anyway, so I went to Dallas for this convention with these ladies who later on turned out to be the presidents of my fan club when I first started wrestling. And Sheik was in Dallas along with the rest of the guys, and they had known me from around Houston and taking the jackets and stuff like that. So uh, I was around him there, but also the way it happened that he trained me, put his hands on me, and showed me and stretched me was there was a football player in Houston who wanted to wrestle, and he got in touch with Paul Bosch. And of course, wrestling's easy, something to do in the off season, and you don't have to do anything. It's all phony and fun. And Gary Hart would come in from Dallas every Friday morning and go to the matches with Paul in the morning. And this particular Friday, he brought Sheik with him, and they needed a ride down to the Coliseum. So while Gary and Paul and Bronco Lubitsch were going over the matches for that night, I took the Iron Sheik and this football player down to the Sam Houston Coliseum. And I always carried my stuff in the back. And Paul said, you can work out with them too if you want. So we got to the Coliseum, went inside. This was one of the first times I actually went inside the dressing room of the Coliseum. And when we walked in, I'm looking at smaller than I thought, one room, and we get dressed, and the Sheik or Muhammad Farouk actually, he was putting on his Olympic singlet and his amateur wrestling boots, and I'm thinking we're going to go over some real cool stuff in the ring. But he had us do push-ups and squats. I think we did 100 squats, 100 push-ups, whatever it was. And then he proceeded to stretch me, stretch the other guy. And this went on for 2 weeks. After the second week, the guy said, to hell with it. Khosrow came about 2 more weeks, I think it was. And then he said, to hell with it. And he left the territory. The time frame of that gets less and less fresh in my memory as it goes on, because I just remember going in the ring and he put me in a hold. To this day, I still don't know what it was. And he bent my neck back, and he made me, he said, scream, scream. I said, okay. He goes, no, louder, louder. I said, okay. And he pushed me aside like a sack of garbage and did the same thing to the other guy. But then I got to work with him a few times when I started wrestling, and he was very easy and very nice. And he called me his rookie for a while. Manny Fernandez told him I was his rookie. No, you're my rookie. But Manny thought because he and Chavo and Tiger Jr. kind of broke me in San Antonio that I was their rookie, and I was, it was a different type of rookie experience with those guys than it was with the Iron Sheik. It was a lot more fun with Manny and Chavo and Tiger. But yes, Muhammad Farouk, the Iron Sheik, was massive back then. He was about 245 and solid. That was about $170 and skinny and just trying to break in. But he wasn't as crazy. Let me say this. Maybe he was as crazy. I just didn't see it. He was a little more serious, still making his name in Dallas and all around Texas back then. So when he got to be the Iron Sheik, and you started hearing all the stories about him, and then I met up with him later on, it was, you could tell he had some a taste of the Western life, and he liked it. Of course, he'd been around for a while, but now he was really getting hot in New York, and he was part of that first wave, with the Hulkster and Andre and the Iron Sheik, Hillbilly Jim, and all those guys. The cartoons,
Yes,
and that everybody remembers. So he was certainly he really was a legend. I did not try the Persian clubs, by the way, but I know there was a technique to it because he did that challenge in Houston, and I remember the deal was he would do twice as many as someone from the crowd could do. And one guy got in and knew how to do them, knew the balance of it. And he, of course, Kaiser had to go out and beat it, and he did. But I never did them. I never wanted to try them. Or it's not that I didn't want to try them. I just never had the opportunity to try it.
I don't know if it's a work or shoot, but remember when Backlund actually did it? Was he really? Do you remember that WWF when Backlund actually was doing exactly what the way Sheik was doing it?
Yeah. And Backlund, but see, Backlund's a freak of nature too. You saw him do the step ups on the chairs. Yes. Was it the chair or the steps?
No, he literally got his own steps out and started doing it. Yeah.
Okay, right. So that, to be able to do that, you really have to be able to do that. And obviously Backlund was in shape. And did you ever find out how heavy the clubs were? I never knew either. I mean, I knew they were pretty heavy, and there is a technique to it. It's just a swinging.
Didn't you say they were like 50 pounds each or 75 pounds each or something? Like
either way, man.
But the weight going backwards, your natural body would literally send you back. You have to be so strong in like your core and your shoulders to be able to hold it. It's crazy.
I think it has a lot to do with the core. But again, I think it's just technique. And you had to have strength, no doubt about it. But
yes, she did beat him up after that. Yes, set up the title match. Yes,
yeah. So that was when you could get it, make simple angles out of stuff like that, because not everybody could. Pardon me, not everybody could pick those the gimmicks up, the clubs up.
Yeah. So. Little Jacob says, "Why has Sheik stopped doing appearances?" I think I know health reasons, right?
I think health reasons. Yeah, he's been through hell of a lot in his life, and then. Man, just looking at his knees, his ankles, and everything. He's been through a hell of a lifetime. Randy Taylor?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was a great wrestler. He was. He really was. And, again, a great gimmick because it wasn't a gimmick. He was that guy. He really was that guy. And bodyguard for the Shah of Iran. Came over not knowing what happened to his family when he left. So you got to think about that, man. He lived it.
What do you think Sheik's best match was? Ooh, interesting.
Well, I think just because this will forever seal him in wrestling folklore and legendary, he's got to be versus Hogan when he got beat for the title. It was a great USA versus Iran. Great story, and there's your conqueror coming in, Hulk Hogan. So, yeah, I think that's be his greatest match, best match.
For sure, they had a good rematch, too. At the Garden, yeah. So they had some good ones. I feel like he's got to be up there, maybe the best transitional champion of all time. You think?
Well, yeah, I think as far as importance and what a better way to illustrate what a villain was supposed to be back then. I mean, he was. There's no other, unless it was a Russian. Villain back then or some foreign entity, and Iran was our enemy for so long, and for the great White Hope, Hulk Hogan, to come in and defeat him in Madison Square Garden of all places. So, yeah, what a transitional champion. It had, you don't even have to know Hulk Hogan or the Iron Sheik. It's just the imagery alone in those words. Hulk Hogan, the Iron Sheik from Iran. I mean, God, yeah, I think it was great.
Such perfect booking just for that era too. It's just like everything worked out perfectly. The fervor of obviously being true blue American, and then obviously the Sheiky baby being the most dastardly heel. They threw in the towel for him to be the champion. Arnie Skolin did Backlund. He really lose the title. Unfair way to lose it, of course. Great heel that Sheiky baby is. He wouldn't let go of the camel clutch, but just everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah, that I think it was even, and we talked a little bit about this tonight at the JPWA. I think it was one of the most powerful finishes I saw too. But I think that business model, when all you had to do was look at the characters coming to the ring, what they wore, how they walked, body language, everything told you the story. When you saw Superstar Billy Graham versus Dusty Rhodes, and that plays into today's storyline with Cody. You didn't have to guess or wonder who these guys were. They were both colorful, eccentric, and charismatic characters who came to the ring, and it was authentic. So that's they try to interject that a lot, but I think the true blue characters today would be a Cody Rhodes who's talking about something that's real and is coming from his heart. His dad never won that championship, and he wants to be the one to bring it home. Yep. Yeah.
Good question here. Why did Andre the Giant dislike the Iron Sheik?
I don't know for a fact that Andre disliked Sheik, but there were probably some guys just because Sheiky Baby could be maybe a little annoying. To Andre, you never know what annoyed Andre. Especially in the later years, it just could be because of Sheik's craziness too. You never know. I personally don't know.
It's funny, like if he liked somebody, he really liked them. It seemed like if he didn't like them, he just hated their guts. Like him and Kamala didn't get along. Him and Bad News Brown just seemed like he just hated their guts flat out.
I think that goes not just with Andre, but I mean with anybody in the business or anybody in something like this where you see each other every day, and sometimes you're not the most with the most what's the word I'm looking for? Manners. People who don't have manners or respect and things like that, and maybe the Sheik's habits might have caught up to him. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, Iron Sheik versus Sergeant Slaughter too. Great point by Anthony M1. Yeah, those matches are great too.
Yeah. Again, there's your story: USA versus the evil Iron Sheik from Bahrain.
It was the Cold War era. Yeah, people love to hate Russia and Iran. That's kind of coming back around, by the way.
I think it is, yes, no doubt. But culture, wrestling was reflected what the culture was, and going back to growing up, I remember 20 years removed from World War II, you had Gentleman Saul Weingroff with the von Bronner brothers, and I didn't realize the implications were as a kid, but as I got older and learned about history. And learned
Waldo von Erich,
Waldo von. Oh my God! Oh gosh, yeah, you know the part.
Yeah,
that almost got him kicked off TV.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things that culture dictated who was going to be the good guys and who was going to be the bad guys, and it just happened to be convenient. Sheik didn't like how he worked with him. Oh, I don't know, maybe not, but.
Andre would lay on you, be stiff
if he didn't like you, and if he wanted to make you look bad, I guess he had all the power to do it. So,
and I've heard fart on guys, blow his breath on them, do stuff like that.
Yeah. But I mean, he was. I couldn't imagine. I don't think anybody obviously couldn't imagine what it was like to be Andre and have to put up with some of the stuff he put up with. Being stared at all the time, and then so who knows what was bugging him. I think just being uncomfortable most of the time probably had a lot to do with it.
Loved the Hulkster. He hated Warrior, hated Savage, hated Sheiky, hated Kamala. I mean, for some reason there's a bunch of guys. Obviously, loved Bobby the Brain, and Vince. But I mean, there's a bunch of guys he didn't like. But I could see being ornery. The plane, the car, the showers. I mean, everything must have sucked.
Yeah, sometimes I remember going to, I think it was Joe's in Fresno, California, or or the original Joe's, and he would get Crown Royal for everybody, order everything for dinner. Original Joe's, it was in San Jose, I think.
Oh.
I think it was San Jose, California, and he was pretty much happy the rest of the night as long as he was drinking and eating and having a good time around people that he did like the Guerreros and I was in Houston. Paul Bosch had me get on his shoulders and for the Battle Royal, and he took a picture and he always used that in the program. But I would remember him being a nice guy, and then hear stories later on about getting moody after a while, because once he became full-time WWF and doing that hectic schedule, I mean, you can only imagine, man. Here's a guy who's way out of his comfort zone and has to deal with guys who don't know anything else but to be barbarians and travel and have to make their own entertainment along the way on the road. So that could get tiresome and it could get old real fast, I guess. So, but I know that he had the van for a while, and Vince tried to make it as comfortable as possible. So,
Sheik and Volkov were almost unbeatable. Yeah, they were a great heel team. They were hated.
Yeah, and I think Nikolai was also the temper between Sheik and a lot of things too, because Nikolai was a pretty even-tempered guy and a very nice man too in his own right.
Yeah, he's like one of the nicest guys. It's funny. It's like, aren't you this hated Russian heel from the 80s?
Yes. He was the typical heel, but then he was also the typical nice was he Ukrainian? I don't know. He wasn't Russian, was he?
I think he's from Czech Republic. Was that right?
Maybe the Czech, Republic. I'm not sure. But
I'm trying to remember because I know he's part Polish as well. But I want to.
Well, he was a nice guy anyway, no matter what. And the Sheik was a nice guy too when he wanted to be. And early on, he just again, I think he put up with a lot too.
Croatia and Yugoslavia. Okay.
Croatia, yeah, that's what I thought. So, yeah.
Mr. Volkov. Yeah, he was such a nice guy. But, of course, WrestleMania 1, though, will live on in history because they beat the U.S. Express for the tag titles, Sheik and Volkov. So nobody will forget WrestleMania 1 and then winning the tag titles and getting the heat in the Garden that night.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you had everything you needed for that day and time, and the Sheik fit in. We can't choose when we're born, obviously, but when the Sheik fit in from being a great Olympic champion, he was an alternate for the Olympic team in Iran, and then coming over to the States and learning from Vern Gagne and knowing how to train, knowing what he had to do to be on top, and parlaying that into a hell of a career. I mean, I don't know what else to say about the Sheik. He really was one of those perfect guys at that perfect time in the business, where you had, for instance, when Bruno was on top, it was the right time and it fit. He was drawing money. And when the Sheik came into existence as the Iron Sheik, the evil Iranian, perfect place, perfect time. I don't think anybody else could have filled that role. They could have stepped into it, but I don't think they could have done as good a job as the Iron Sheik actually did. He was authentic, man.
Nicholas said, wishing Ricky Steamboat a speedy recovery with his health issues. Jake the Snake recently had said that Steamboat was having health problems. He didn't go into specifics, but hopefully Steamboat gets well soon.
Well, I don't. I haven't heard anything in a long time about Ricky's health, but I knew at one time he had some issues after he got dropped. They did the I think Nexus angle with him. Remember when they power bombed him and
Yep.
stuff happened there? So I mean,
Yeah, in the Jericho match. Remember, he wrestled Jericho a bunch of times, and he got injured.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I have to give it to Ricky Morton because he's a freak of nature. Ricky Morton still goes out there and does stuff at 65 years old. Is this live?
Yes, well, to quote JR, we're live, pal. We're live, pal.
Yeah. Ibzan, okay, Rero. Very nice. So when I knew the Sheik, just going back to the Sheik real quick, when I knew the Iron Sheik, he was pretty straightforward and we had good matches. And
what was it like wrestling him? Because you wrestled him at least 7 times that I could find in GCW in 1982. So what was it like? Obviously, you lost every match, but what was it like?
What do you mean, obviously? What is that supposed to mean, John? Just
Sheiky
because
baby.
I'm in.
Come on, it's the 80s and it's Sheiky baby. He's not losing, you know.
Good point.
Well, unless you're Hogan.
All right. Well, anyway, no, he was very easy, man. He really was. He was a total pro. And the only thing I remember, every match he had with me or Brad Armstrong or whoever it might be. I think he might have worked with Tommy Rich a few times, but he would always want us to hold the headlock with the left arm and go USA, USA. Well, that didn't make sense because why would we'd be able to hold him with one arm? But Sheiky Baby always insisted. Chant, raise that right arm, chant it USA, USA. So we did. I'd go USA, USA. But he was very nice. Again, he was a pro. He's a total pro.
Did he stiff you at all? Because
not at all.
Not really? No.
He was solid. He wasn't stiff. I mean, stiff hurts. Stiff is in unsafe places. But when he hit me at a safe place. You'd feel it. It was solid. It wasn't stiff.
Ivan Putski, little mention here. The Polish Power. Yes. Being Polish. I used to love Ivan Putski. Yes. Gotta.
Well, I liked Ivan Putski when he was Ivan Putski instead of Joe Bednarski. He was, Ivan Putski came as Mighty Igor. I think he was a ripoff of Mighty Igor, and he did it better, I think, because he played the very childlike character and dobra and did all the Polish words and was a dancing fool in Houston. But he was another guy who pulled it off for a while. Then he went to New York and got really cut up and teamed with Tito Santana and won the WWF Tag Team Championship. Then he came back to Texas and he spoke English all of a sudden. And he graduated from the University of Texas, I think. He played football somewhere in Texas. And Paul Bosch said that he murdered one of his favorite characters of all time because Ivan drew money and he could do that character. The kids loved him. People loved him. He was entertaining. Then he came back a jacked up bodybuilder and it was like no more dobra. He spoke English and kind of lost the magic.
Yeah. Yep. So do you think Sheik is one of a kind? Do you ever think there will be another personality like Sheiky Baby again?
I've learned to never say never, but the problem I have noticed, just my opinion, is there's a lot of manufactured characters out there today, not just in wrestling. There's just a lot of manufactured reality shows. There's no such thing as a reality show except when you watch our Patreon. By the way, you can get a Patreon at JPWA.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. But I don't know that there is anybody that could be like the Sheik again because for his time frame and for what was happening in the world, he fit it. And the world's changed so much. I think the only way that could happen is if you had an influencer, a YouTube influencer, or a social media influencer, whatever the hell you use, the Instagram or any of the platforms, and that would be a whole different feel for it because Sheik was certainly one of a kind for his time. And would he fit in today? For some, he would, because he is that cartoon, flesh and blood character who didn't have to fabricate where he came from or what he did. He had the credentials. He really was an Olympic athlete. He really was a bodyguard for the Shah of Iran, and he had the baddest wrestling boots. He really, really did.
Where did he get those boots? From the Shah himself? Where did he get those awesome boots?
You know, I don't think the Shah ever had a pair of boots quite that awesome.
Oh, okay.
But Clifford Messias in Houston, Texas, made his curled up boots. You know, that was the bootmaker for a long, long time that a lot of guys wore, and custom made boots. Other guys got them from Bill Ash or Stagecoach and stuff like that. But he did have the baddest boots, and that was from Clifford Messias in Houston, Texas. I'll give him a plug.
Oh,
He's passed away since then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anybody else that makes boots like that, John. That's just a little bit of history.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sure,
those boots are the best.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen the Iron Sheik get crazy with the medicine from
never get the crazy, but he was happy. Very felt much better with the medicine. And so I think Sheik deserved to have his medicine.
His Iranian tobacco, as he loves to call it.
Well, whatever he loves to call it, if it makes him happy and it makes him well, I'm all for it. I really am. So,
look, Ricky Morton got a concussion last weekend from Hannibal. I had no idea. Wow,
I had no idea either. So that just goes to show you what happened. I wonder what happened to him though, because I was man. I got all the respect in the world for Ricky Morton because I wouldn't want to go in there and do what he's doing, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's 64, right? I mean, it's crazy. He's still in there.
No, he's 65.
65, yeah, still in there doing it. It's crazy.
This year, yeah. The Sheik character was obviously anti-American, but in reality, it would be hard to find a more patriotic person than the Sheik. Well, possibly so, because I do believe he loves the country, loves the U.S. of A. because of everything that's afforded him. And I do believe he's grateful for being over here as opposed to being in Iran or Iraq or anywhere in that vicinity, because I think he realizes what he has here, no doubt.
I'm actually surprised that people think that's actually him on Twitter. Have you ever read his Twitter?
Oh, yeah. I know it's one of the two guys.
Yeah, one of the two boys or the two brothers. Won't say who, but I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's those guys. It's funny. They were doing Virgil's too. And Virgil had the blue check mark, and I guess they realized it's not really him doing it, so they took away the blue check mark. But they still go on with the stuff. I'm surprised he still has a blue check mark, because can't they realize it's not really him posting? I mean,
well, I'm surprised people think that Flair actually does his tweets too.
Really?
Yeah. Rick doesn't tweet. He'll tell somebody what to tweet.
Right, yeah.
But he doesn't actually do the physicality either. And sometimes,
but they'll making a joke like "fuck the Hulk Hogan" or it's not.
Yes, but it's not the Sheik baby. Sheik baby doesn't even care. Do we have the medicine? How are we going to eat?
Yeah.
Okay, where are we going? Whataburger, great. So I don't know. I think
Todd Alexander, how about comments on Tracy Smothers? Some great matches. Your boy, Tracy Smothers. Yeah.
Yes. I love Tracy. He was great. He's another guy that can't exist in today's world because they just don't make them like that anymore. He was one of those guys. I'll comment on Tracy Smothers. I had a lot of fun with him. And, friends fight, family fights, stuff like that. And, God, man. Tracy was one of those guys you wanted to have around because you never know what was going to happen next. And he would help a lot of guys. He would come over and be that veteran. Once he got to that stage in his life, he was that veteran who wanted to show the younger guys how you can do it with less. George South is another guy that believes less is more. And right, wrong, or indifferent, they've got a good point when they talk about less is more and going out there and getting the reaction and getting the most from everything they have out there. So Tracy was really good and a lot of fun, and especially in the dressing room, he would be shadow boxing the lockers, and sometimes you get a little too close, and sometimes you can make him so mad that he just want to headbutt you. There were times when I thought, yeah, I might need to just back off a little bit here because he's getting ready to headbutt me. So, but he was really fun. Tracy was a hell of a guy to have around, and a hell of a worker.
Look at this with from Ibsen Arroyo. With Sonny getting in trouble, have you reached out to her to let her know that people do care for her? I'm gonna guess no on that one.
Well, you'd guess right. No, I haven't. I haven't reached out to Sonny yet, and I'm not going to. I look, man. We were supposed to talk about the Sheik, but we're kind of getting off here now.
Yeah.
And
They
that's
want to know
okay.
about Sonny. Hey, yeah.
I know. Okay, but I actually tried at one time to talk to Sonny. That's how I know it's not going to work. I tried a long time ago when this first happened, when the Body Donnas first came. Actually, when they were there and we were the Heavenly Bodies, I talked to her and she didn't care. So I've said it before. I hate it for her, but this was inevitable. There was no end to this except this. So I hate that.
Do you think B40? Do you think Vince had a soft spot for the Sheik, always bringing him back?
I think so. I think from everything I've heard, from everything I've heard and seen personally, I think Vince has a soft spot for certain guys who were there around the time that he was building his company. You stop and think about it. It was 85, right? When WrestleMania 1 was first done. Okay, so in 1985, prior to that, he had been in the Northeast, and the WWF started in 1963, right?
Yes.
You know, okay, so it's 1963. Really isn't that long when you think about it. The NWA was formed in 1949. So 1963, and then the AWA, and how these things actually branched out is a really fascinating story, if you ask me. And now Vince has brought it back to where instead of the DuPont network, it's on Fox, USA. It's global with cable. And there's something to be said for the guys who went up to New York City, Madison Square Garden, the most famous arena in the world, bar none. You know Madison Square Garden. So, yes, the Sheik was a huge, huge part of that nucleus, that first formed crew that really opened this thing back up. No denying that. So,
Ricky Brooks is saying Sheiky Baby had his boots copied from the original Sheik.
and the original Sheik also got his boots made by Clifford in Houston. Yes, but he did. Yeah, man, that was a gimmick.
Who liked their medicine more, Iron Sheik or Tommy Rich? Medicine, of course, in quotes.
In quotes.
Medicine. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure that you could say one liked one more than the other. I'm pretty sure that Tommy Rich also he liked the medicine, and Sheik Baby very good to share with Tommy. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they both like the medicine.
How often do you talk to Bruce from Dave Cole?
Well, he's pretty busy up there these days, so it's not that often. But we talk once in a while. We talked earlier this week, so we're thinking about. In fact, we'll probably be going to Raw Monday night, which hadn't seen guys in a while. So they're in Knoxville, and some of the JPWA guys and girls will get to go and see the matches. Some, I believe, at least one person is going to be there earlier in the day, uh, just hanging out or in the ring, something like that. So I talked to him beginning of the week.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
Yep.
Getting together. Very cool.
Well, John, it's not often. It's not often. So you have to take each moment as
Yeah,
it comes.
been
You
a
know what I
while,
mean?
right?
It's the
Yeah,
journey.
it's
It's
been a
not
while,
the
yeah.
destination, man. It's the journey.
Who was better in their prime, Sheik or Kurt Angle?
Ooh, that's a good question. But I think I don't know if I can say one was better than the other. But for their day, they both carried the torch, I think. And of course, Kurt Angle being a gold medalist, I don't know if we can even compare him. But
Sheik
she
just
should be
won
able
what,
to,
the Pan American Games, I think.
whatever it was. But he was down.
Yeah.
He was pretty good too. I mean, he was very good. And you're talking about what better and what in their prime? I mean, wrestling or shooting or working or what? But I would have to say they both are pretty damn credible.
Do you know if Sheik was ever in any shoots? Says Freak Daddy 5150.
I don't know personally. I don't know any stories, but it wouldn't shock me because back then guys like to just go a little bit or try whatever it was. I I wouldn't know any stories actually, so I wouldn't want to say something, and
We
all of
also
a
said
sudden,
Sonny needs prison too, which is
well,
interesting, but maybe accurate. Yeah.
maybe accurate. But no, it's actually something. She really she needs some help, and I think she's past that now. So.
Jason Moody. Hey, Dr. Tom Prichard. Remember watching you in USWA and watched you at the Louisville Gardens. Any good old school stories?
Well, the Louisville Gardens is where I broke my ankle, where Stan Lane knocked me off the apron.
Yep.
And the Gardens is a cool wrestling building because you come in the back, you go down 2 steps of stairs, and it's an open area, then 2 big dressing rooms, and I think 6 single dressing rooms against the other side of the wall, a referee's room. So, I mean, it had a lot of room, but I just remember having to walk down those 2 flights of stairs with a broken ankle and walking back up to get out of there. But I liked Louisville. Louisville's a good place. There was a place, I will tell you this, called the Toy Tiger in Louisville, Kentucky. Jason, you may know it. It may still be there. I'm not sure. But myself and another friend of mine would go to the Toy Tiger when we'd stay over and have to do Evansville or just something like it, staying over for another town. We didn't do it all every week, obviously, but and it had three levels on it. Live music was on one, stuff on stage was on the second one, and I think a DJ on the third floor, whatever it was. And there were a couple times we'd pull out of there and the cops would wait across the street to see who was coming out. And they would usually pull in behind and put the lights on just to check you. And that happened to us on a few occasions. And we always passed. So just want to let everybody know we were law-abiding citizens. We just went in and frequented that establishment on occasion. I don't know if that
Toy
makes sense.
Tiger is the name? That's a nice name.
Toy Tiger.
Wow.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. I spent a week there one night. And
great line.
Yeah. Crazy. But Louisville's fun, man. It was.
That's great to hear. He was talking about Dave was asking about Bruce. Great to hear. I'm sure you'd be happy to see him. Nice.
Yeah. I hope he is. But you know what? I've learned again. It's shit, man. It's just it's a journey. Sheik seemed to have the better character.
Over Kurt Angle, he was saying.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think Kurt's a better athlete, though, more athletic.
Well, no doubt about that. But, and the gold medal, I think, has something to do with it.
Oh, yeah. And, like, just physically, like, I could do, like, a friggin' perfect moonsault. You know what I mean? Like the Charlotte Flair style moonsault. And, he's not a small
Kurt,
guy.
I'll say this. Kurt is definitely, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. No doubt about it. He's that machine. and fearless. So, not that Sheik wasn't. I'm just saying.
I think
Kurt
Chad.
was definitely
What's
one
a
of those guys.
regular day backstage during like Wrestling Challenge, Superstars, when they do 3 tapings basically in the week? Well, really 3 tapings in the day for several weeks, really.
Yeah, it used to be a lot different when. Well, maybe are they doing 3? So they're doing Challenge now and Superstars,
No, you're
whatever
talking
it
about
is.
back in the 90s, like when you would have to
Oh yeah.
be there all day for the tapings.
It was an all-day sucker. I mean, you either going to the ring or you're hanging out backstage, hanging out at catering. But most of the guys were in the ring or finding their agent, go over the match, and that was it. And what did you do for fun to pass the time? Uh, back then, I think we had to be there at 1, and you go to catering, eat, find your agent if you're working, go over your match. You could read. Some of us had the Game Boy with Tetris. I remember that back then too.
Yep.
But a lot of it was talking, telling jokes, telling stories too. If you weren't in the ring working on something, you were outside the ring talking about it, or you were backstage talking about it. If you had pre-tapes, you did your pre-tapes. But you learned how to be there all day and could drink coffee or find something to do, work out. Guys would usually either go to the gym, come back, and go over their stuff. There was enough to do during the day, trust me.
Were you a card player at all?
No, I was not. I should have been, but I wasn't.
Mike H., give Sonny a life sentence.
Well,
not a bad thought. Yeah.
Mitch
Seinfeld. Speaking of your great line about spent a week there one night, great Kramer line to Newman. Sergeant Slaughter versus Iron Sheik would still draw money today if they could both still go. I'm sure they would.
Well, yeah, I think if you had 2 guys, again, I think with the right stories and the right feeling behind it, again, take Cody Rhodes and whoever the champion is, or whoever he wants to get in a conflict with, Seth Rollins. I think they're great in the sense that people want to see something unpredictable or something that's at least passionate and real, or as real as you can get. And I think Slaughter and Sheik, again, with those characters, how could you go wrong if they can still go?
Is the Sheik regarded as a legendary wrestler in his native Iran? I have no idea. Do you know that?
I don't know, but I would think he would be if they knew about it. But I don't know what's going on in Iran, obviously.
I would hope so, man. You know, the former bodyguard of the Shah. Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah. Tommy Rich said he once went to Sheik and Buzz Sawyer's hotel room. It was completely destroyed from them two trying to determine which one was the toughest. Have you heard that before?
I have not heard that before, but I will tell you, it doesn't surprise me. And the only thing that would surprise me, no, that wouldn't even surprise. I was gonna say Tommy going to the room but no, that really doesn't surprise me that Sheik and Buzz would go for it and nobody would care. They wouldn't. Both those guys wouldn't care.
Dave put me over. Got to put that on there. Thank you, Dave.
Sure you do.
That. Yeah, got to put that up there.
Yeah.
The psychology used in the match with the Sheik and Bob Backlund when Sheik won title was brilliant. I agree.
Exactly, because Backlund was never pinned. It was his manager who threw the talent for the coward. Yes, Iron Sheik. So yeah, that's great heat. And then you have again the All-American hero, the Hulkster, coming to save the day and begin a new era.
What do you think about Arnie Skolin as his manager? I always thought that was, I don't know, it didn't fit him and Backlund.
Why not?
I don't know. It's weird, like a babyface manager that doesn't really talk. I mean,
wasn't Arnie with Bruno for years?
Yeah, I don't know, but Backlund, I don't know. For some reason, Backlund didn't fit to me. Like, I don't know,
Okay, so think about that for a second. Bob Backlund was the All-American boy. He was surrounded by stuff on the undercard and semifinal event, but yet he was the champion.
Yeah.
So what did that tell you? It told me that you had, it told me you had this guy as a credible champion, but you had all the guys around him that people actually wanted to come and
like
see.
Snuka was way more popular and guys like that. Yeah, for sure.
Right. And Arnie Skolin was the guy who was I don't know why they put him with Backlund, except for the fact that he was with Bruno for so long. Maybe they thought that was going to rub off.
Maybe.
I don't know but
that's a good point. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so there's your hero, and then you got a clean cut young man, All American kid, now being managed by the greatest manager who managed the greatest WWF champion of all time.
Kurt wins in a wrestling match, but Sheik in a fight. I could see that.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think Kurt might give him a run for his money in a fight too. And we'd be surprised because Kurt, there's something about Kurt that is it's scary when he how much he can control you if he really wanted to. And I can't explain that unless you felt it, you know what I mean. And when he just goes behind and goes to pick you up, knowing that he can put you wherever he wants. He's got that kind of strength, and he's got instinct too. That's just my opinion, and I've never fought in. Hello, Doug Masters.
Yes,
how are you doing?
Doug Masters. Yeah, how's he doing? Yes. That's awesome. Yeah, look at that.
Very nice. So, yeah, I think Kurt would damn sure hold his own.
It's interesting. Brian Blair, for whatever reason, Sheik, and when he was on Howard Stern and doing all the interviews, he's obsessed with Brian Blair. So I interviewed Brian Blair a few months ago. I asked him, I said, why is he obsessed with you and humbling you and, fucking you in the ass and, all the other stuff that he always says, I'm going to make him humble. I hate Brian Blair. And he said, because one night in a match, I don't remember, I think it was him and Brunzell against like Volkov and Sheik or something. And Brian Blair took him down for real because Sheik started shooting with him, so he took him down for real. Only got him down for a second, and then Sheik kind of got it back. But Volkov was teasing him, saying hey, he got you, he really And after that, he said never liked him again. He said he really just.
Well, that's I think that's one of those mental things those amateur guys have, and Sheik especially. Believing he was the baddest dude on earth. I don't know. And Brian Blair taking him down surely would be an insult. I can't believe Byron Blair, he knows no wrestling. But, he came from the Eddie Graham school. So does Kern, so did Mike Graham and all those guys, man. So those Florida guys, I learned when I was in Tampa that those guys were raised, in the Gulf. They went fishing, diving and swimming,
and Orndorff's buddy too. So that probably, Orndorff probably beat him up a few times,
Yeah. So those guys, you had Slater in there to throw him in there too. Those guys were
Bob Roop. Yeah.
Bob Roop. They were a unique bunch of guys that ribbed hard, played hard, and weren't afraid to mix it up. I mean, I saw that. So I don't know, man. That might have really irritated him. The Brian Blair taking him down. If that, no doubt. I mean, I wasn't there, obviously, but that makes sense.
Yeah,
because he's going to make sure he finally, he's going to take you down when he gets a chance.
Yep. If Vince gives you a headliner for next year's Hall of Fame, who's your pick? I originally was thinking put The Rock in the Hall of Fame and then have him wrestle Roman Reigns, but with Triple H's retiring, I mean, I guess you got to make Triple H, right? You got to put him as the headliner.
Yeah, Triple H would make sense. Yeah, on his own for sure. Anybody else, I really don't know except for The Rock. I mean, who's ready to go in? Who's the next guy? It would have to be Triple H, I think.
Yeah, probably him, and then maybe Rock the following year. Sheik's Mean Gene promos were priceless. Yes, I agree.
No. Sheik's Gene Min.
Yeah, Gene.
It was Gene Min. So he was great, and that's why they had Gene there for so long. Because you got to admit, Mean Gene was one of the greatest too.
Oh man, so good.
Yeah.
Arnie just sat in the corner, signaled Bruno. Yes, true.
Listen, you had to have somebody signal Bruno in that day. So the managers, if they knew if you went three, and then you put this one over here like that, that was a different move. And J.C. Dykes used to bring a whistle to the ring to signal his infernos. And then the people would bring whistles to the ring to confuse the infernos because they would blow the whistle and they had signals like Morse code. Well, after they got done people would bring their whistles, JC would bring a flashlight, and then those sons of bitches would bring flashlights in the crowd. And then they started selling them at the arenas to give the bad guys an unfair advantage, or to give the good guys an unfair advantage. And so Arnie's signals, he knew how to do that special New York / Italian hand sign. And that's why he was so vital to Bruno's career. And then when Bob got in there, I think Bob was a Protestant. And Arnie knew how to do the special, signals like that. Yeah, it was a damnedest thing.
Let's follow up with Hannibal on Ricky Morton. Ricky Morton said, "Fans tonight, I hit my head kind of hard during the match and lost for a majority afterwards." Oh boy! And he said that's what Ricky had said about the concussion. So,
okay. Well, damn, man.
Feel better soon, Ricky Morton, one of the all-time best, probably the greatest seller, maybe of all time, up there anyway.
Certainly, I agree, man. I mean, he really is one of the greatest babyfaces of all time.
Hey, my buddy Dennis Condrey had said that Buzz and Sheiky Baby got at it, but Buzz got the better of Sheiky Baby. Wow.
Maybe so, because Buzz was lighter, and Buzz could have been quicker at that time. Buzz was crazy.
Some have said Dr. Tom is a wannabe Dennis Condrey. I don't know about that, but maybe.
Well, whoever somebody is, if they have a name, we can talk about it. But I like Dennis too. He you can't deny Dennis Condrey's authenticity too. He was a man when he got in this business, so he knew from day one.
Hey, speaking of another Florida legend that you left off, Bob Cook, interesting stuff he said.
Yeah, yes. Listen, Bob Cook, I want to tell you personally, now that you're listening, I hope so. I think I sent this to you on Facebook before. We watched a match with Bob Cook versus Dick Murdoch on numerous occasions, not numerous of occasions, but numerous occasions, different classes, to demonstrate when you go out there, especially when a veteran and a guy like Dick Murdoch, who was being featured, respected the guy he was working with. He gave him something, so it wasn't just a one-sided match. And Murdoch would sell Bob's punches or blows or whatever he did to him, an arm drag. And I've demonstrated or show these guys how it was demonstrated you had a match and still got over and got your opponent over at the same time. It was an enhancement match, but the guys liked working with Bob and would give him stuff during those matches, and they'd make a great match out of it instead of just going out there and guys who couldn't do anything. So Bob, we watched your stuff, and I've looked it up before. So yeah,
who has a better punch, that right hand, Bob Cook or Jerry Lawler?
Ooh, good point. Bob has some good punches.
Yeah,
he do have some good punches. But Jerry Lawler has some really good punches too. So I haven't felt Bob's punch, but I felt Lawler's. And I didn't feel him, so that was good.
He says that Superfly Jimmy Snuka was ripped off from his shot at the title. He was so popular, he should have been world champion. Yeah, not over Backlund. I'd give him the title every day of the week. I mean, I love Bob Backlund, but as far as champion, Snuka was way more popular, I would say.
Well, I would think so too. But for whatever reason, I mean, still, you've got to have, I think, somebody you could rely on. Not that you couldn't rely on Snuka back then, but somebody you could rely on and somebody they wanted to make sure they could reel in if they need to. So
Brian's an awesome guy, says Bob Cook. I agree. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree too.
Hey, Doug the guitarist says hello.
Hello, Mr. Guitarist. That's in the Midnight Express. Oh, you know what? That's
how are they not in the Hall of Fame? That's a good point. They should be the headliners with Jimmy Cornette leading the charge. How are they not in the Hall of Fame? Right? It's nuts.
Have you asked yourself that question?
I know. It's like, why isn't Bundy? And why? I mean, we can go crazy about all these guys.
Right. Once again, I mean, it's like that's a no-brainer. So you have to ask yourself, let's see, what? Oh, wait a minute. Who decides this? You mean it's this guy, and Kevin who? Yeah. So
yeah. Gene Mean. Yes. There you go. Gene Mean. Yeah.
So I said, Gene Mean. Thoughts on Mantar?
Yeah, do you remember Mantar?
I roomed in Mantar one night. Nice guy, but I just don't think that was the gimmick for him, and I don't think he thought it was either. But it's like anything else. Because I've been there. You go this is what we got. Okay, we'll work with it until you just can't work with it, or they can't work with it. One or the other. I don't know.
That book, Murdoch was awesome. Did you
Yeah,
ever
it
work
was
Dickie
awesome.
Murdoch?
Huh?
Did you ever work Dickie Murdoch?
I worked a tag match in Amarillo, Texas. Jimmy Del Rey, myself, and Jim Cornette against Dory Funk Jr. and Dick Murdoch. How
Oh,
cool
that's
was
right.
that?
That we did talk
Yeah.
about because we were talking about Dory one episode. That's right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that Dory put the spinning funk toe hold and Murdoch threw the punches. And oh my God. Yeah, it was very cool.
Oh, Bob Cook said Lawler throws a better punch. All right. Yeah.
Well,
Hard to
I'm
argue,
saying,
yeah.
Bob, I haven't felt your punches. I've seen them; they're great. I felt Lawler's, didn't even touch you, or he touched you, but you didn't feel it. How about that?
Rock and Roll Express, Tammy are in the WWE Hall of Fame. Jimmy Cornette actually inducted them, so they are. In
No,
the Hall of
Ricky, yeah, rock and roll is
Yeah.
in Hall
Yes,
of Fame, no
yes.
doubt. I was saying the Midnight should be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, Midnight. No doubt about it. Tammy had said rock and roll, but they're already in.
Yes.
Do you
I
remember
do remember working WX.
WXW?
That was in Germany. Yes, I sure did. I was there for 2 weeks, I think. And yeah, that was a fun time.
No, they're actually referring to WXW in Allentown. I think that's what's his name? Office promotion. I guess
Alpha,
they were saying-
I don't
Yeah.
think I don't know if I went to Allentown or not. I might have, but I don't think so.
Oh, this is a
Then
good
again.
one. Who do you like better, Van Halen, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar? That's a great one. That's a good debate.
Is there any real discussion on this? That
Oh,
DLR was
what?
the only guy? No, David, man.
Oh
Come
my
on,
God.
Sammy Hagar. Listen, we're talking about showmanship. I don't
Right,
care how
right.
Sammy sings. If I want to listen to Red Rocker or I Can't Drive 55, I'm good. But I want to hear some promos. I want to hear the same. I want to
What about
see a guy.
heavy metal?
No, Dave was a perfect front man. That's what I think. And he's got great promos. Sammy just talks to you. You know, and yeah, Dave's a flake. Yes, Dave is nuts. Were you a Howard Stern fan?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember when Howard
was?
Well, not anymore. But I mean, when he had his radio show and then he left and Dave went on for a little bit and then he said, "Nah, we don't watch it." It's because Dave gives you the sound bites and he talks about obscure and crazy and stupid things.
Yeah. Yep.
I enjoy crazy, obscure, stupid things, and I enjoy when people are talking about them because they're not taking it so serious, and they understand. He got canceled too because nobody wanted to listen to that crap.
Right.
But yeah, Dave did have so much. He had so much charisma. Sammy Hagar was great for what he was, and Dave doesn't know about wrestling. Saw the Ricky Dozan episode of his podcast from Japan. Yeah,
really?
I mean, he talks about it.
Holy
Yes.
shit. Wow.
Yeah.
What in the world? That's awesome. Nice.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dave, man, they talk about they got their style from pro wrestling. They wore the spandex. They did the stuff. Man, Dave was doing martial arts kicks and doing the katas and doing stuff on stage where, he's telling you stories in between songs. And that's, if you're the Van Halen brothers, you'd get pissed off too if the band was named Van Halen, but Dave's getting all the press. Well, he was getting all the press because he knew how to. He designed the shirts. He designed the programs. He took an interest in the business, whereas the Van Halen brothers just wanted to go and play music. I get that. But these guys, I tell everybody, again, the young David Lee Roth, the old David Lee Roth is a parody of himself. But I just thought Dave was a better showman. And if I'm going to a concert, yeah, I want to hear the music, but I also want to see a show. And if you can't sing, fake it.
True. Let's take one last question here, and this is a good one. And you got to be honest with it, though. You really got to answer this one truthfully. From the fan of the business, did you ever shoot on Bruce, and did you make him tap out?
I have to actually comment on this.
Is it true? Did you guys fight, and did you get the upper hand?
Well,
not recently, obviously. I mean, talking about like when you were kids.
Oh, certainly wouldn't be recently. I'm not that stupid these days. Yeah. I was stupid. I'm still stupid, just not that stupid these days. No, I don't know that I ever shot on Bruce and made him tap out. No, I'm going to say no comment on that, John.
Wow.
Yeah, no comment. I can't in good conscience. Even say or give you a direct answer, because then it's definite, and then it's done, and it's buried, and it's over. But this one, I have to leave open-ended and say no comment.
All right, that's fair enough. But let's talk about your book, A Pro Wrestling Curriculum, Advice, Suggestions, and Stories to Help the Aspiring Pro Get to the Next Level. Where can they get the book?
You can get that book at jpwrestlingacademy.com. It's on the front page. Just click it. It will send you to, I believe, Amazon. And you can order jpwrestlingacademy.com.
Nice picture of you and The Rock on the back, of course. Your prized pupil there. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. You can follow Dr. Tom on Twitter at Dr. Tom Prichard. Also, go to Pro Wrestling Tees, ProWrestlingTees.com. Hit up the Dr. Tom store. Hit up the JPWA store as well. Dr. Tom, what else you got going on? Anything
Yeah,
good?
we're going on a cruise to the Mediterranean. Sorry, not the Meridian. The Mediterranean, and we're going to hunt for triggerfish. And we're going to lead a 12-man triggerfish expedition on a 90-day expedition to find the latest in crab claws and puppy dog tails by the baked swordfish on the left side of the eastern seaboard on the western port.
Interesting.
Yeah, you want something? You want something tonight or not? There you go. No, I don't want to talk about anything else coming up, man. We got some cool stuff coming up though. But we're going. This class is for the JPWA. The second class of 2022 is making headways right now with promos and getting to go to Raw and getting to do some other cool stuff. And along the way, there's a real cool journey for these guys, and they seem to be passionate and happy about everything they're doing. And if I have any something to report on, I'll let you know.
Nice. Good stuff as always. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening, and thank you for the great questions. And thank you to Dr. Tom. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Taking to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll see you next week, folks.